It's been a relatively quiet offseason for the Calgary Flames, but where does this team go from here in their retool? Jess Belmosto of Locked On Flames joins us to discuss that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Flames, Jess Belmosto. And Jess, it's been a relatively quiet offseason for the Calgary Flames. Did that surprise you at all?
Yes and no. I think that the Flames have made it very clear that they are only doing moves that they see necessary, which aren't necessarily the moves that fans would make if they were in Craig Conroy's position. I thought by this time we would have seen Rasmus Andersson traded, but instead he's on Twitter liking hate tweets about himself. So, I mean, hey, whatever works. But I guess I thought we might see a trade or two more, even outside of Andersson.
With all of this going on with Rasmus Andersson, what kind of future does he have with the team?
Honestly, at the season-ending exit interviews, it very much gave, this is the last time you'll talk to me as a Flame. But then at the same time, Craig Conroy has said, yeah, we're fine going into this season with him. But that's just a distraction, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense, and you are taking a lot of risk in terms of injury with that as well.
Obviously, goaltending is an issue, backup goaltending specifically. There was a change there. Talk to me about it, and do you think the team is better off with their goaltending depth now than they were a year ago?
I think it's too soon to tell. I think that Dan Vladar he was consistently inconsistent. So it was a ride whenever he was in net. And obviously, even when he was backing up Markstrom, he didn't see too many starts this season, and I don't blame him for wanting more of a starting role. But I think that Devin Cooley did pretty well in the AHL last year, and the new goaltender that they just signed from Russia, who's formerly played in the NHL, it seems like it's open season for that backup spot, and I like it, but I don't think that I think they're going to lose more games this season.
Because of the backup goaltender.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if Wolf gets hurt, how disastrous would that be for this team?
I honestly, yes, Dustin Wolf being hurt would be pretty bad, but it would be very good for the Flames in terms of more losses and climbing up, the Tankathon.
You think that's the direction this team probably should go in?
Yes. I don't think that they will ever lose on purpose or anything like that, but I do think that they need to continue to have more seasons like they did not this past season, but the season before, where they were able to pick 9th overall and get Zane Parekh. And I think that a few more top 10 picks, maybe even a top 5, would put this team where ownership maybe thinks they are.
There have been a number of lists coming out about the best and worst contracts in the NHL. and Jonathan Huberdeau topped the list of worst contracts for one of these organizations. How bad is this contract, and does he belong at the top of that list?
Yes, he belongs at the top of the list. He hasn't cracked 60 points, and he's making $10.5 million a year. That's not what you want to see. I definitely think it's slightly better because the cap went up, but if we didn't see any sort of movement there, obviously, like, it's still bad, but it's not as bad. Obviously, you never want to see a player on your team on that list, and I guess I'm glad that's the only bad one, even if it's the worst.
Any chance that how many years left on that deal? Any chance of movement there, or is it so bad no one will touch it?
I think it's so bad no one will touch it. I want to say there's 6 years left.
Wow.
It's up in 2030. So 5-6 seasons left. I could definitely see this being an LTIR situation way further down the road. Last season was nice. It was great to see him go out there and hit 28 goals, and just look more confident, and not even just with his scoring, but with his passing as well. There was definitely some flashes of vintage Huberdeau in there that I would like to see again this year.
So training camp is about 6 weeks away. Hard to believe. We're almost getting to the start of another season. What do you see as the team's biggest needs and concerns as of right now?
They need to trade some forwards. They have far too many wingers and not enough roster spaces. And if they think that they're going to compete with the same group that they did last year, I have some news for them. You have to score goals, and Kadri and Huberdeau leading your goal scoring is great. The fact that Kadri scored north of 30 again, great. But you need to find a way to integrate more of your youth. You need to really figure out any of these contracts you can move and just make the gutsy decision.
Who are some of the players that you think are movable at this point that maybe before the season starts, we could see them making a move?
I think Blake Coleman, just because he is a player that has obviously won. He is still productive. He contributes, on the score sheet and very well defensively. I think he is a player that every team would like to add at the deadline. Like, if they find themselves in a spot like, okay, we're going to go for it and make a true run for the cup. He's the type of player, at least myself as a general manager, would like to add. I could possibly see them trading maybe Ryan Lomberg or Adam Klapka. I mean, both are two huge personalities and locker room guys. Klapka was getting hot towards the end of the season, but at the end of the day, there's better players that you can start to move forward in their development.
And who are some of those prospects that the team is high on that are close to being NHL ready?
Yeah, I think Adar Suniev, who played at the University of Massachusetts Amherst last season before signing his pro contract, just absolutely phenomenal there. Consistent scoring, and he was able to squeak one game in, the final game of the season. And I mean, obviously, it is a very small sample size, but to me, he would probably be a little bit more of an ad than Ryan Lomberg.
All right. Well, Jess, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and YouTube, where back to 3 shows a week through the off season, and it's always a fun time to do some research and deep dives and speculation. And you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto.
All right, Jess, thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And I know that if you're trying to keep an account with your wife, your husband, your significant other, it makes it so much easier to have all this information in one place with Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.